So to understand mobile apps, let's talk about browsers first. And how browsers started. Like, it was the late 1990s, and browsers came about as this revolutionary thing where you could now run little applications. They started as just websites, on your desktop computer. And browser technology was born. We had HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Like, these were how you made the browser do more and more amazing things. And it took a while to get amazing. If you remember Microsoft Word and you remember Microsoft Excel, those used to be staples of things that you installed on your desktop computer. And the idea of running them inside of a browser was, it was kind of crazy. It just wasn't going to happen. It took many, many years until you got Google Sheets and Google Docs, and they've kind of replaced Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, and a lot of this credit goes to Gmail. Gmail was revolutionary in 2004 of being able to control the browser in this fancy way with JavaScript that it actually felt like a real app. It felt like an install-based app. Okay, so that's before we even got to mobile. That's just browsers tech, and how this evolved. And basically now we're to the point on most apps that run on computers, not phones, computers, big screen, desktop computers. Most of them are web apps. It's only every once in a while that you actually have to install something. Maybe you install Photoshop, maybe you are still using Excel. For some certain reasons, it's better. But for the most part, most people are probably just using web apps on their computer. Your phone's very different. Your phone, trying to use just browser tech on your phone, runs into all sorts of issues because phones are so new and they've got all these new features. And they've got like Bluetooth, and they've got cameras, and they've got locations, and they've got accelerometers, and they've got things that, desktop browser tech just can't quite keep up with. It's close, it's getting better and better. And so this is a long way of explaining that when people talk about a native app or a non-native app or a truly native app, what they're really talking about is, understanding the subtle difference between browser tech and installed base. Okay, so let's take an example of you go to FedEx.com on your phone. Okay, you've opened a browser and you've now gone to FedEx.com and you're able to look up your tracking number and get the information you want using their web app, right, on your phone. So that's a mobile app. Now, it's definitely not native and it's not installed, right? And so in FedEx case, you go to the App Store or you go to the Play Store and you search for FedEx. There is a FedEx app you can download and you can install it. Now, is that a native app? Well, it might be. You have to look and see what that app is doing, because a clever thing you can do when you install an app, an app that's even in the Play Store and the App Store, is that app might just be a browser. Let me say that again. That app might just be a browser. And you're like, wait a minute, it's not a browser. I open the app and I'm in the FedEx thing and there's no address bar and I can't go to my website on it. Well, you can build an app that is basically a browser, but you just hide the address bar. So you're stuck on just one site only. But the technology is still just browser tech. You're still just showing HTML and CSS and JavaScript. And so you still have all those limitations of what you're actually able to do on a phone. And so to have a truly native app, you have to get out of the browser world. You have to build an app that is not using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, but rather, you're using on Apple, it would be Swift. And on Android, it's going to be, Kotlin or Java. And these are not browser tech. These are not doing all the hard things that happened in the late 1990s to be able to render anything on any device. This is instead going back to the way Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel installed base was, where you're really making, a truly native experience for the platform you're on. So where does this leave you with deciding, okay, what do I want to do with my app? Do I want to build a web app that's also a mobile app? Do I want to build an installed base thing with this secret browser? And there's something called React Native that's very popular. Because it might be in your business case that, you want to have this installed base app. You're not doing anything very complicated with Bluetooth or the camera. So you don't need any special features of the phone. And so you might want to get away with using browser tech and just, then you don't incur the cost of having to learn Swift or Java, Kotlin, and do all the things that are required for a truly native app. It's a lot compared to browser tech. But you also might have the exact opposite situation where maybe you're starting a brand new company and you don't even have a website yet. but you're going to launch your product native only. So there's only an iOS app. Maybe you only start on Apple first. Later you'll do Android or vice versa. Start with one, and that's your product, and that's what you're pushing out there, and that's what you're polishing and making perfect. And that might be the right choice for your business. And that is understanding mobile apps.